Beau, I hear you don't like skateboards. We happen to have a skateboard right here. We're going to go over what we call creating a conditioned emotional response, and that's a very good. I like the laying down next to the skateboard. Now he doesn't like skateboards, but it's skateboards that his guardians are not on, or the skateboard the problem for him. But if I move this, you see he's a little bit nervous. So what I want to do is create a conditioned emotional response. So what I'm going to do, and this is going to be a little bit tricky. Let me try to do it this way, and get my hand ready. So what I want to do is at first I want him just to simply look at the skateboard, and when he does, I'm going to click and give him a treat. And you've never used a clicker for him, right? Okay, well we'll back up a little bit. If you're going to use a clicker, you need to do what we call priming the clicker. Let's get that to stop moving. There we go. Beau. You can tell the click is a little intense for him, so I moved it behind my back. Beau. Come get him. Now he's a little bit nervous on it, so I'm just going to probably pantomime and describe this without actually doing it. So what you need to do is I'm going to leave you guys this clicker. I want you to drop just a handful of treats, or just do one at a time, and when he licks it up, click it. Now if he gets really nervous like that, you want to, whenever dogs are nervous, we want to lower the intensity. The way we can lower the intensity for this is by increasing the distance so the volume is lower. So what I would do is maybe have one of you sitting way over there by your closet in the other room, watching, and then you drop a treat and he comes and gets it, and also put it behind your back so he can't see it or hear it. Well, what the clicker means is that's the exact second you did the thing that I want. A treat is about to be delivered shortly. Don't ever go like this to get the dog's attention like a remote control. That's the antithesis of what you're using the click. The click just means that was what I wanted. This is helpful when you're doing something that takes a lot of steps or a lot of nuance, where you can't get a treat to them fast enough for them to make that connection. The clicker is the precise moment. You can train without a clicker. I've done it for like 25 years without a clicker, but I've found recently that it's really helpful. So what we want to do when we're creating a conditioned emotional response is we want the dog to create a positive association with something. So what I would do, now this is a little bit of a big skateboard, but what I would probably do is I would have it like behind my back, and I would go like this. And when the dog looks at it, I would click when he looks at it, and then I would drop a treat on the ground. And then I would move this behind my back. And then when he's treat. So what we want him to start to associate, when I look at the skateboard, I get a treat. What we're doing is the skateboard he's fearful of the skateboards. It probably moves by, probably some skater dick came by, like scratched his board or did something, zoomed by too fast when he's a puppy and he got spooked about it. So now he just looks and moves fast. It's hard for dogs to participate or process. So what we're going to do is break it down and go step by step and deprogram him and help him be desensitized. First stage is just we take it out of his fight, hold it up, and as soon as he looks at it, we click and give him and drop the treat. And we want to do that for a couple days until when you hold it up, no matter what, he looks at it and he's like snapping into it, and he's like into it. When he gets to that, the next point is I would like hold it up, or if he's sitting here, maybe move it, have him roll it out, and he's got to touch it. Now if he has problems with that, you could actually do this. Now be careful, like when he's going for it, I don't want to have it like if you have him go for it and he starts stepping towards it and we go like this and it starts rolling, that will spook him. So I would maybe put something underneath so it's just going to stay static, i.e. not moving. And then he comes over and clicks it, or gets it, we click, and then he gets to walk away. So when there's no movement, we don't have to do anything. Keep doing that until you drop a treat or you hold it and he just comes over and touches it right away. And now we've gotten to the second step. The third step is actually movement. So I might go like this. When he looks at it, I would click. So now we're incorporating movement, but it's far enough away from him where he's not fearful. If he gets up and moves away at any stage when we're doing the movement, it's too close to him or it's moving too fast. Now he's going back into a sanctuary under the bed.
No, on
just
top.
On top of the bed.
Yeah.
So when he doing things like this, that if he wants to run away from, we want him to feel empowered to move away. If I don't want to play with this anymore, so keep these short iterations, really maybe 1 minute maximum for these, and throughout the day. But if he keeps on going back there, I might close the door just to block him and force him to come up with a new way. Because the other dog's away, there's nothing negative here, but he can't learn to run away from his problems. We need him to confront his problems somewhat, and we're going to stage the scenario and make the problems easy and palatable for him to digest. So once he gets to the point where he sees it and he comes over and gets it, then you're starting to move it. As soon as he looks at it, we click and we toss the treat towards him. So he didn't even have to come and take it at first. And eventually we're going to move it, and let's say there's 25 feet between the camera and here, and he can move it this way. At first we move it slow like this, but eventually we're moving it really fast. But we're going to gradually get there. So we're going to desensitize him. And when we get to the point where we can move as fast as we want at this distance, then we're going to move it one step closer to him and then go back to moving it very slow. And as soon as he looks at it, we click, and we gradually get faster and faster. And then eventually we get to the point where I'm Beau, and I'm watching it this far in front of me, and I've been desensitized. Matter of fact, I've been somewhat counter-conditioned, because every time I look at it or interact with it, I get to take the best treat I've ever had. And nothing bad is happening. And we're doing it inside. So there's no actual skateboard on it. There's no, we're not in Venice Beach, so it doesn't smell like pot and you need a rabies shot. But it's one of those things where we're helping the dog process and learn how to deal with this one step at a time and going at the dog's rate of speed. If the dog is uncomfortable with it, we might have to practice a couple of months before he's comfortable. But once we do this thoroughly, they look at skateboards and they're very comfortable with them. Now, some other, this is to create a conditional emotional response. It's a little bit harder for a skateboard because it moves around. The next step that I might do is once you get to the point where you can get it right next to him, then I would move it back further away and have maybe you would get on the skateboard and in your apartment again, just ride it just very slowly this way. And maybe you're the one clicking and giving the treats. But when we do this, we increase the distance. Now, I know the dog will actually pull you when you're on this, which is a great way to burn energy. I love doing that. The next thing I would do is maybe have him pull you down to Venice. The nice thing is, burning off excess energy before you're doing something like this. We don't want to overtire him. So maybe take him down to Venice and then grab one of those dunes or whatever where the homeless people hang out where it's not too bad, and sit and let them recover, bring a little bit of water, let them do it. And then they have a skate park that's right by the beach. Well, you'd like to do this on a day, it's winter now, so there are probably days and times you can go down there where there aren't going to be a lot of people, and that's really the ideal. We like to find it when it's really mellow. Or if you know somebody who skates, that'd be even better. So instead of going there, because that's going to be too intense, maybe you go somewhere else, a parking lot on the beach where there's nobody else, you're away from the beach, and you have your buddy, and what you want to do is, this is counter conditioning, is I would take a treat, one of the tricky trainers that I have, and what I do is I don't have any left in here, but they're squishable. I would smash it down like a pancake, and then hold it, so I'm holding it between my thumb and forefingers, and he's nibbling on it in 3 or 4 pieces, or bites, I should say. So what I want to do is I want to let him do this at home a bunch, so he'll just come over and nibble on it. Great. Then what you want to do is if I'm holding it like this, I can position the dog to look where I want. So if I want to move to the right, I move it here. Now the dog's looking here. I can go down. I can go up. So I want to get him looking at the skateboard. And the skateboarder should be a far enough distance where your dog stays seated and is interested in the treat. My 2 litmus tests. If the dog gets up and wants to move away, let him. And then find a distance where he will sit and look at the skateboard and eat the treat at the same time. That's his safe distance. He feels comfortable at that distance. Then what we do is just have the guy, maybe you could probably just have him do circles around you at a slow rate of speed. But the better, actually now that I think about it, it'd be better to have maybe a car's parked here, cars parked there, and the skateboard's on the other side. So as a dog, we're shielded from view here, we can only see the skateboard when it's here. So what you have is your buddy's coming through, right before he comes into view, you're letting the dog chew on the treat. So as soon as the dog's chewing the treat, and then suddenly he sees the skateboard. So the treat is being delivered first, that's important. Then he sees the guy going across, and as soon as he gets to the second car and his path is going to be blocked, the treat goes away. What he's saying with the skateboard is, I don't like the skateboard, I want the skateboard away. So he probably barks at them, trying to get them to move away. That's what he wants. Well, what we're doing is we're counter-conditioning him. Yeah. So when the skateboard is coming towards him, which is what he does not want, he's getting the treat. But we've arranged and staged the situation where he's far enough away where he feels comfortable. And so now every time you see the skateboard arrives, I get a treat. And then the skateboard disappears and the treat disappears. So when I get what I want, the treat goes away. And you basically are going to do the same process. We're going to do that slow, and then you get a little bit faster and faster. And if at any point he gets up, he's saying, it's uncomfortable. It's too much for me. And eventually you get that skateboard to come closer and closer, just the same way I described here, until eventually the skateboard's going around it and he's comfortable. Now that's just one skateboard. Mm-hmm. Next thing, I might take him to the skate park, but be so far away he's not seeing it because it's elevated. So you can actually be down on that, what do they call the boardwalk or whatever, on the path, and you can let him hear the skateboard scraping and the wheel trucks turning and all the rest of that, and you're letting him have treats. Now when you're doing this, try to find a place that you can sit down. If you're standing, you look like you're getting ready to go, and he's like, come on man, let's get the hell out of here. This is a dangerous place. If you sit down, if you can actually go there with a lunch, and both of you guys sit down, tie the leash around your foot, but again, find a distance where he doesn't want to run away, then sit down and eat your lunch. If you guys hang out there, make it a little bit of a picnic, you're relaxed. He's like, well, if they're relaxed, maybe I should be relaxed. And he's hearing these sounds and becoming desensitized to them. Once you can do it and he's comfortable there and he's laying down and he's not twitchy, next time you do it, you get a little bit closer and a little bit closer until you're right next to it, but he's still up above so he can't see anything. Yeah. The next stage would be go find the day, like I said, that was really tight or really slow. It was maybe 1 or 2 skateboarders there in the afternoon if you can. Yeah. And then you basically stand up on the deal and let him look at it maybe when they're in the far bowl. And again, I'm feeding him those treats while he's looking at it, and we're gradually going to get him closer and closer and closer until he associates when a skateboard appears, I'm getting the best treats I've ever had. And because we made sure that nothing negative happened, it's all a positive association with him, and he's happy and comfortable doing it. And then he's not so lungy at skateboards, because like I said, what he's trying to do is get the skateboard to move away. Now, if this does not work as planned, call me or text me, because this is a lot of complicated stuff and I'm trying to describe it on the fly. We've been working with the dogs for 3 hours. They're overwhelmed. There is another technique that we can use if this one does not work that I use. I don't want to tell you about it now. Where's he?
Oh, he's in the bedroom.
Okay. The other dog's growling in her sleep. But if this doesn't work, let me know and we can set up a follow-up session to work specifically on that, and we can do the loose leash training and some of the other stuff that you guys are talking about.
Great.
All right, so this is how we can basically use positive reinforcement and some counter conditioning to help a dog develop a critical emotional response to skateboards.